Welcome to 2022.
Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season. Did you have a good holiday?
It was uneventful. So yes, I'm going to say yes, it was. It was a wonderful holiday. How about yourself?
I would say by and large, it was nice. There were days where I was doing too much and there were days where I was not doing anything.
I feel like that's just called life.
Yes, but this time it was also trickled in with like seeing family and also, having to put on a bra, like all these things that were just
the worst, man.
That was really bad.
Ugh, I can't tell you what's worse, talking with parents or engaging with parents or wearing a bra. They're pretty tied.
They're both pretty tight. That's right. No, so since we are in this new year, or at least this episode is, we wanted to take the time to revisit the intentions that we had talked about in early December. Did you get a chance to ponder on your intentions for 2022?
Okay, so I actually did ponder a little bit more.
Ooh.
And what I enjoyed about this is my sister, Jessica, who is also a listener of the show, was actually asking me.
Hi, Jessica. Hi.
Was actually asking me, hey, can we talk a little bit more when you come out here to visit me and the kids? A little bit more about my intention. Like, I have an idea of what I want, but maybe you can help me flesh it out. And it was perfect because when we recorded the intention episode, I had an idea of what I wanted, but again, like that nurture, I still, nurture being my word for 2021. I didn't know how to move on from that. So her and I sat down and we talked a lot, and I'm still ironing it out.
That's okay.
But have you come up with yours?
Yes. So I've been in this state of, we've touched on it a little bit, of just reading a lot. I did make my goal of 100 books in 2021.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was touch and go there for a moment.
I know. I was on standby.
I know. And then so I did a lot of reading. And so there's a part of me that wants to just be. And this came through in coaching, and I kind of talked about it on the episode as well. But I want to be valued just for being a person, just for like existing, which I know logically that's like something that gets talked about a lot in like self-help circles and other things, but I'm really just working with this idea right now. And so a part of me wants to just have my intention be just to be, not anything to do with labels or expectations, and just kind of seeing how things go. But then there's this other part of me that's emerging that's talking about how I can be, and also what that means in the system that I'm in.
When you say system, what do you mean by that?
I mean all of the different settings, like in my friend group, in my work setting. Hello, I'm all the things there. But in that community, because part of it is I don't want to be so focused on my being and myself that I am neglecting or ignorant of the world around me. And it's kind of the struggle that I'm seeing, where the focus, yes, I think you need to know yourself. I think you can only control your thoughts. You can only do those things. And that there's power in being able to take care of yourself, putting on your oxygen mask, like all of those things that we've talked about, right? I think there's power in that. But also realizing that I do have an impact that's greater than myself. And so how is that going to impact myself, and how is that going to impact others around me? Because as much as I want to just be and be focused on the present moment, there are things that impact
others.
Others and different systems beyond myself. So it's kind of this struggle of being, I think, more aware is kind of what's coming to the surface right now. It's like I want to be, but I also want to be aware.
I like that. So the one that I was settling on for myself is, it's funny that it rhymes with yours. It's actually me. So when we spoke about intentions previously, I talked about how Vince, my husband, was saying like, I really wish you would, take care of yourself a little bit more. Self-care has really been lacking for me in 2021. And so because his answer was so heartfelt, I wrote it down. And it's really been sitting with me. And I was like, okay, he's right. I have been neglecting myself, but I'm also a huge people pleaser. So I've always put people's needs before my own. That includes my career, staying in places too long, engaging in relationships that should have died a long time ago. So I had this word me, and I remember you and I had gone out to coffee last week, and I was kind of, working this out with you. And you're like, well, what's wrong with me? Sorry. Look, I'm getting yours confused. Yeah. You're like, what's wrong with the word me? And I said, it doesn't evoke action for me. Mm-hmm. I think why I enjoyed the word nurture so much was because it was an adjective. I'm like doing something. It's an action statement. Mm-hmm. And so in and of itself, it's provoking action. And so I love the question that you posed to me, which is like, what would living into my intention give me? And I wrote it down because, again, it was so powerful. So thank you.
It was a powerful question, and it was an inquiry. So that way you could ponder and think on it. Did you do that?
I did. And I was really torn. So again, the question was, what would living into my intention give me? And I would say, like, for me, it came with like peace. I don't know why that surfaced for me. But I also when we're speaking about moods and stuff, I've mentioned I experienced seasonal depression, and this year was no different. And I've just been in like this funk. And so like, really focusing on me, I think would also, I wouldn't say bring me joy, but I would just feel better about myself. Like maybe increase in self-love I want to increase my self-love.
Yeah. Because you're getting at the root of the why.
Exactly.
Of what it is that's going to be driving you to have this more at the forefront of your mind. I think it's a really great point that you bring up about mood, though, because I do think that just like nutritionists are going to tell you, don't go to the store hungry, right? Because then you're going to buy all the things, or, you're going to make poor choices. It's the same thing with setting your mood intention, or setting your intention, making sure that you're in a right headspace and mood to do so. And I think part of it for me has been that I have been in a funk. I've been in a real funk for the last couple weeks. As some of you guys know, like my Instagram got hacked. I've been trying to get that rehacked and then getting it shut down. And it's just been like this giant fucking clusterfuck. And so like that has impacted my mood, where I'm at in my legal career, that has impacted my mood. And so I got to all these things. And so when I was thinking about like, well, what do I want to do? It's like, I just want to be. And it kind of came from this place of, I don't want to say being totally down. Like, I don't think it was the bottom, but it was definitely in the lower, in the lower bell area of myself. Where I've been like,
bell curve. Okay.
Yeah. And then we're going to bell curve this one. So it was definitely in the lower loop of just like, I just want to be. And like there's like this sense of almost being exhausted. And it's like, I don't want to do all of the things. I don't want to feed into these expectations. I'm not necessarily anti-hustle culture. I think that it's got a couple different connotations. I just want to be. And I just want to flow from that space. And so that's kind of where it has been coming from. But had I done this when I was on an upswing, right, I might have been more inclined to go, well, my intentions for 2022 are going to be, I don't know, it could have been monetary. It could have been more of like the goals and lists, things that we talked about before. Like, I think I would have been in a different space where it would be, like you said, more action oriented. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not in that space right now. So, listeners, point being, when you set your intentions, do so when you're in a good headspace. I'm not sure I was in the best headspace when I was setting this, but it keeps coming back over and over again, even when I am in a good headspace of, I just want to be.
Well, I don't even know. Because what is a good headspace? That's all subjective. But I also think too, mm-hmm. because we talk about, experiencing, being in a funk from time to time, that's natural. I don't know if we're ever going to escape that. But I think even when you're in your low, it's like, or when you're experiencing a discomfort or an, uncomfortable situation frequently, it's like, well, what do I want more of in this next year? And it sounds like you want, for me, I want more time for myself, more time to make myself a priority. That's like what's really surfacing for me right now. But do you think that you can only have one intention? Why? I know you have be, and then you're like, be aware.
No, I don't think you can have one intention. I think the main thing is like with the word priority, right? That's one of the words that through, I'm going to go on a capitalist rage, is one of those words that we have diminished the actual value. You can only have one priority, but in the society that we live in now, it'll be like you have these priorities and they've made it plural. That's not actually how that word works. Priority is there is number one. There can only be one priority that's at the very top. Everything else is going to come behind it. And so when I'm hearing you talk about, being a priority, I'm hearing you being at the top of your list as the filter.
Being numero uno.
Yeah, and I think that self-orientation is perfect for you right now if that's what's resonating.
It is. It is. And again, but I was like, I'm struggling with the fact that it's not an action statement. And maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just all encompassing and that's just got to be what it is. Am I being put first in this situation? Is this an activity I want to engage in? Really, making I statements and me statements before I engage in certain activities, ensuring that I am the focus.
Yeah. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that it's a good place for you to start generating more of that self-love. Start generating more of that self-compassion of, I'm not feeling this. I don't want to get together with everybody this weekend. I don't want to go do that event, whatever it is. And if that's a way for you to put yourself at your forefront, like, I'm all for it.
Well, thank you. I want to throw the question that you posed back at me to you, which is, what would living into your intention of being or being aware give you?
I think what it would give me is really just permission to exist and have value in existing. And I know that sounds super woo-woo and like a little existential, but it's like, you don't expect children to, do anything. You expect them to be children, right? Same thing with like your dog. You don't expect your dog to run 100 laps every single day. Haley gets to be Haley, right? Same thing with your, we have a bunch of cactuses. Like, I'm not like, oh, you're a bad cactus because you didn't produce a flower this year.
It almost sounds like removing or stripping yourself of like expectations that maybe you hold of yourself or that others hold of you.
I think it's a little bit of both. It's having that, but it feels like a difficult thing to accomplish. And then there's another part of me. It's like, it's not about accomplishing. It's about being, because that's part of the problem that we have, is that everything has to have
purpose or meaning.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, what did you do today? It's like, I lived, I breathed air, I ate, I, took myself out for a walk, I moved. Like, all of those things are valid. And in our American society, we do not allow space for that, because it's like, well, what do you mean you didn't do that? Or it wasn't the right kind of thing to do. Like, if I clean the house on a Monday, Matt's like, well, you had other things that were more important to do. It's like, I disagree. I think cleaning the house on the Monday was exactly what I needed to do. And just being okay with being in that space. But it's very hard when we're in this culture that really values you based on your production and what you're showing of what you're doing, as opposed to just, hey, you know what, I'm being. Like, there's even a small part of me that's like, what if I'm being and I stop reading for a little bit? I don't know that I can do that.
I don't know.
I've done it for a little bit.
Well, yeah, you have. But you make a really excellent point with, being and self-care. It's funny that ours are somewhat similar. I feel like yours is like being in the space and just allowing yourself to, again, be. I know that does sound kind of woo-woo. When mine, I feel, is a little bit more of like elevating myself in terms of care, because I do prioritize almost everything above myself. So really changing that for me. But When you were talking about, having a day where you do nothing, I know we talked about this a little bit in that self-orientation episode, but it's okay to like not do anything, but yet we feel like a piece of shit, or we feel lazy for not doing anything. But in our, like you said, in the American culture, Americans or humans are just a means to create money or a means to produce something. And even if you look at the mental health system, like that's not included in most insurance plans. And that's unfortunate, because I just think the entire person needs to be, healthy.
Absolutely. I think the entire person needs to be healthy, but I think it also, you're valuable because you're valuable, period. Like it's not because you can do great things. It's not because you have great potential. It's not because, you make beautiful desserts. It's not because, you make the most amazing cross stitch patterns in the whole planet. Like, how are you going to have any curiosity if you just have to do all the things? And so that's really what it is. It's like, it's stepping away from doing and really just, I wish I could verbalize it in something different that doesn't potentially sound off-putting with it being, but it's really just, what, I'm valuable because I'm on this planet doing the things that I want to be doing, and that has a value. And sometimes, if there isn't a production to it, or, oh, well, did that bring you money? Oh, did that do this? It's like, no, man, just brought me joy, or it brought me peace today, or it brought me laughter. Like, I think that those things are super important that have been overlooked. And so being in this space and having read a lot about different things, including capitalism and the work structure and all of these different things, I think have definitely influenced my intention and kind of the moods that I'm in all the time. But I do think that it is something that I kind of want to just play with it and not really set anything in stone.
Well, and that's what I love about the intention. It's not usually when we're setting resolutions, it's like, okay, I want to lose, 20 pounds, or I want to go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. And that's what we set our success on. But really, it's how do you feel, and I think that that's even more important than, did I go to the gym 5 days this week? Spoiler, I did not. And probably never will, but that doesn't mean that, I can't be a healthy person. It doesn't mean that I'm not happy in what I'm doing. But what I like about what we're doing here today, and what I hope our listeners kind of take away with, is how important it is even just to like speak your intention with a friend or with someone that you trust, to not only necessarily hold you accountable, but sometimes like we don't, sometimes our friends know us better than we know ourselves. And, you keep, bringing this up a lot, Melissa. Might you consider that maybe it's prioritizing your self-care, or, self-compassion? Maybe that's my word. I mean, and it wouldn't have surfaced had I not had this conversation with you. So I think if you have a few ideas or intentions that you are maybe stuck between, really sit down with a friend over a cup of coffee or tea or a glass of wine, and just sit down and like ask yourself these questions with one another and see what your friend thinks.
Yeah. So one more time for the listeners, what's the question?
Oh, there's a few. And these are, you can find these on our Instagram. We created a Instagram post, but some of the questions, if you're wanting just to sit down with a friend, the first is, what is most important to you and why? The second is, what would I like more of in my life? And the third, this is what Cydia contributed. What would living into your intention give you?
There you go. Those are the questions. You know where to find them. Go ahead and do those things and let us know how your intention setting is going. And we will certainly keep you updated on how we're doing with all the things. But I love that you get to be me and I get to be.
Yeah.
I think those are nice.
That's it for this episode. Find us on Instagram at Pivotal Moments HQ for all the behind the scenes and sister-like banter you know and love. We want to thank our producer and music director, Ron Johnson. This has been an Astronomicus DMR Impug Productions podcast.